Hey guys, Kev here, and I want to do an overview on this beautiful piece right here. This is the T.W. Price Dawn. This is a prototype made by Bestech for Tyler Price. I believe his last name is Price. I know his name is Tyler. And he's a 20-year-old dude living in California, and he basically is living the dream, guys. I mean, as far as being in the knife world, you start out checking out certain knives, budget knives, whatever. You progress your way up the chain, right? And you start looking at nicer knives. You start to get into those like medium range knives like Benchmades and ZT. And then you start discovering the really high-end stuff. And depending on your story, that journey could take, months. It could take weeks. It could take years, decades, right? And what ultimately happens is you see somebody out there who designs a knife and brings it to market, and it inspires you. And it makes you want to do the same thing, right? And for me, that person was my good buddy Jake, Bearded Gear. He designed the Avant with Ryan Rimmer, and they brought that to life. And that inspired me to just be like, hey, could I do that? And one day I drew a knife, and it just worked out where I teamed up with Colin, and now we're working on our own knife company. But anyway, all of that is to say, this guy reached that point at 20 years old, and he just knocked it out of the park on his first design. This is his first design, guys. 20 years old. And his dream is to be a knife designer. He's got a bright-ass future, guys. I'm really just proud to handle this. I don't know Tyler very well. I've chatted with him on Instagram briefly. But, dude, you're badass. You're a badass motherfucker, yo. All right, that's all I got to say about that. So, anyway, that's an introduction to the Dawn here, guys. Love this thing. And I'm not the first guy to check the prototype out, and I do apologize. This is not available right now. The pre-order has come and gone. I didn't get one either. I wanted to handle it first and see how it worked left-handed before I laid down the money, which honestly, super reasonable too on the pricing, and we'll get to that. But if you're sitting there wallowing in your misery, there is a chance, guys. First off, he's going to do another run. Second, I think he told me he has a certain number, a decent number of each variant coming. So, like leftovers, basically. And those will be dropped first come, first serve on his website. So just keep an eye on his Instagram, guys. That's my advice on this one. If you're really into this one like I am, keep your eyes on his Instagram, and you will be notified when the time comes. And then you just need to be quick on the trigger. You know what I mean? So, yeah, let's get into this bad boy. Aesthetics. This is an absolute pants creamer, guys. This one is just, oh my God. This is like looking at, just an absolutely gorgeous supermodel, and you're just like, you're just biting your tongue a little bit. You know what I'm saying, guys? And gals, just think of it as the other way around, or whatever you're into. You get my point, right? It's beautiful. It really is. This one in particular with the hand satin blade, which I would prefer a belt satin, but, I'm nitpicking here. This just beautiful milling pattern. This just pop of purple, guys. That just sets it over the top for me. The hardware is gorgeous. This clip is gorgeous. Man. And then on the production version, this is the prototype again. This relief cut will be moved to the inside, which is awesome. There are some other changes. He sent me a list. They were mostly just, cleaning up a few things here and there. So I don't want to go over the whole list, but I believe the clip is being adjusted slightly to be more comfortable. And the relief cut, and then there was a change to the lock bar insert, so you get a little better geometry, because in the disassembly, I noted that there was a little bit of lock rock, and he took care of that for the production run, okay? So those are most of the changes that I'm aware of. I don't have the list here, and none of it's a huge deal, right? I think he also did something with the milling to knock the corners down or do something like that, which I don't think they're sharp at all. So whatever that is, sure, great. Sounds good. Right. Anyway, aesthetics, guys, it's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, open, closed, it's just a pants creamer. All right. Ergonomics. Ooh, it's so comfortable in hand. Now, left-handed, that clip, I'm barely feeling it. I just make sure my middle finger rests in front of it, so I'm not like right on the corner there. And it's absolutely just fantastic. This is a perfect size knife for me, guys. I'm always saying 3 1/4, 3.3. That's my sweet spot, right? So a lot of knives, you get a small one at 3 inches and a big one at 3.5. I want this. I want 3.5, right? But yeah, just really comfortable in this grip back here. I get great purchase with my thumb right on the spine. There's no jimping, none needed. Perfect. Then you have this sort of choil. I do sort of wish that's something I would recommend on another run, because it's too late for me to give any, feedback and have him do anything about it. But I would totally turn this into a full finger choil, or maybe knock this off, right? Flatten that out, and then you should have enough room there as a choil. Now, it does work. You can hold it in this grip. I haven't cut myself or anything weird. So you can do it, but I just wouldn't rely on it if you're gonna bear down or anything like that. It just hurts right here, and you're gonna probably get that edge a little bit. So an actual choil would be fantastic, but this does work, right? So ergos, in my opinion, are very good. Right-handed, the clip, no, I don't really feel it at all. So if he's making it more comfortable, great. I guess I feel it a little bit right here. The top gets me a little bit in a certain grip, but I wouldn't really think of it as an issue at all. Yeah, so carry, oh man. Again, clip is being adjusted. It is good going in pocket. It's a little tight coming out, at that very end there. I just kind of have to tug it out, and it kind of pops over the jeans. If this was the final version, it would not bother me. It wouldn't bother me enough to be I'm not carrying it. But it's a little bit of a nuisance. I would totally want that to be adjusted so you get a little more clearance on the way out. Excuse me. But other than that, carry profile, it's thin. It's not overly thin, but it's a perfect thickness. It's not super tall with the fuller. It doesn't get in the way. The flipper tab's not in the way. It carries really well. The weight is really good. I carried it in my back left pocket like I always do with right-handed knives. No issue. So I'm sure in the front right it would be even better. Cutting. So I didn't do much with this. You can see it's been used, guys. It's been loved by some people. Can you see the scratches on the blade? There you go. You see them there, right? I mean, this thing has been loved, and I love that. That's one thing I do want to note about his email. So he sent an email out to anybody who reviewed it with the changes and stuff. And it starts with saying, I want you to be as comfortable with this knife as possible. So he basically says, I want you to treat it like it's yours. I want you to cut with it. I want you to take it apart. I want you to do whatever you feel you need to do to get the best out of it so you can give me the best feedback. That was in that email. This dude is 20 years old. He has his shit together, guys. He's thinking like a much more seasoned person. Trust me. Me at 20 years old? Yeah, no way. Anyway, you guys could probably picture that. The edge, fantastic. It's M390. At least I'm 90% sure this is M390. I didn't actually check that, but I'm pretty sure. and I don't need to because it's going to be something of that nature, which is good, right? I'm good with that. So cutting, in my opinion, I didn't do a lot of it just because I don't do a lot of it, right? I'm supposed to treat it like my knife. Well, what do I do with knives? I cut shipping labels out a lot, okay? This tip penetrates very well. It's a drop point blade, very simple drop point blade. I pinch grip up to here, boom, right? It works fantastically. I got about 2 to 3 sheets deep without having to put a lot of pressure down, which is pretty much average, especially for a drop point blade. If I had something more like a Warney, I'd be able to get a little more pressure on there, but it's great for cutting out shipping labels, which again, that's kind of my thing when it comes to EDC. And then a couple of packages. I think I cut one sort of was it an orange or something? I forget. It was some kind of fruit I cut. I was cutting there's these fruits. We went to Produce Junction and picked up random shit. I just wanted to grab. I always like trying different shit, so we grabbed these little things called lychees. I don't know if you ever heard of them. They're fucking weird, but you basically just slice around them and then you kind of peel this shell off, and then it's almost like a little nutsack inside. It's so weird. And then you eat it. Yep. And there's a little seed in there too. But this thing was great with that. Just slice through one side, flipped it around, slice through. It's got a great grind on it. It's a flat grind. Basically starts right here. So it has plenty of room to come down to a thin edge. Bestech knows what they're doing with their grinds. Nice thin stock to begin with as well. That's important there. I just realized I'm kind of getting, when I look at this knife now, I kind of see like a Ferrum Forge mixed with a Vero or something, right? And this is how my brain works, guys. I just am like, what does that look like? Instead of being like, that's its own unique thing, which it is completely, right? I just was getting those vibes. I was looking at this pocket and then the hand satin with the beautiful titanium. Then the overall silhouette is sort of Ferrum Forgy, and those are compliments, big compliments. So anyway, cutting, in my opinion, is really good, but plenty of people have had this prototype before me. So if you want cutting performance information, go check out Stas's review. Go check out Neves' review, right? That's the place to go for that stuff. Sounds. You hear it? Oop, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Clicks out. All right, so sounds on this one, I would put it like a 7 to 8. So really good. I really enjoy the sounds on this guy. Yeah, sounds are good. Good clicks, clack, clingy clangers. You know, it drops and hits your nail. It clicks out. It jams closed. Like, all this stuff sounds good, right? Depending on how you deploy it, you get a different sound. Like, just all the good stuff, right? Action. All right, so here's where we get into the nitty-gritty. First off, you have a front flipper tab, and you have a fuller on each side, right? Those are your deployment options. So the front flipper tab, I gotta say, I like it. Okay, I do like it a lot. It's got good jimping up there. However, I do wish it had jimps that went up and then at least had one up here that went around. Again, I say that all the time. It's something that just, I feel like, is necessary on a front flipper. But with that said, it catches really well. So, you flick it out. I mean, I can even do this. You guys have seen me do this a few times in the review. That's not something I do easily. Like, I suck at that move. Now, right-handed, I can even do it. Come on. Here's an example. I have this Roxy 3 from Wii that I really like. And I see people doing it all the time with that. And I've tried it. Ow, fuck. It hurt. I can't get it. And what happens a lot is if I do get it to come out, then the blade like slides and hits me on my finger or like palm and slices through. I just can't do that move very well. So the fact that I can do it on this knife fairly easily, I mean, again, That's pretty good for me, guys. So I know that's not really a sign because other people can do it like with every knife, but for me, that's a big sign that it's a great front flipper tab. So, but it could be even better, is all I'm saying. All right, now you have the fuller. Right-handed, flicks out, awesome with the reverse flick. You can get your finger in there for a thumb flick. Oops, sorry. I'm used to being left-handed. There you go. I got to get off the lock bar. The fuller is cut deep enough and has a sharp enough angle that it just catches really well. I really enjoy that. Left-handed thumb flick is, in my opinion, excellent. Catches, flicks out. Don't have to worry about the lock bar like you do when you do it right-handed. And then the lefty reverse flick. This is where I didn't want to buy one until I knew how that was, right? It's just because as beautiful and awesome as this knife is, if I can't flick it, I'm eventually going to get pissed off. So, left-handed, if you put your finger, I kind of just try to put my thumb and rest it like on top of the clip like this, right? And then what I want to do is go for the bottom of the slot, like as low as I can go on the slot. And I'll get it every time, right? If I start to climb up, it gets a little harder. See? Now I'm putting pressure in the wrong place. But as long as I'm like lowish, and I'm not like leaning on the lock bar, it's fine. Like, so for the most part, when I'm not on camera and like at a weird angle with my hands, I'm getting it pretty much every time. If I try to climb up the slot and do this, it gets a little harder, right? But again, bottom of the slot, boom. Works pretty much every time. So it's good enough that it makes me want one. If that helps at all. It's not great left-handed. It's not like the greatest lefty reverse flick, but it's certainly manageable. And because of the other factors, like how fucking sexy it is, like possibly the sexiest knife ever next to the Evo 2.0 maybe, it kind of, I forgive it. You know what I mean? And it still does work. So we'll see with the final production run. He may have dialed up the detent because it is relatively light. It's very functional. It's just relatively light. If they dialed it up a little bit, it might be harder on the lefty flick, but we shall see. And then obviously you have all the tricks the kids do. It does all that stuff great. Now, closing action. Drops to your nail very comfortably and boop. I mean, it doesn't get much better other than like free fall drop shut, right? But this is super satisfying on this knife. Now, when I got it, it had like cat hairs in it and fucking rust and shit. It looked like rust. It wasn't, or it was surface rust that came right off. It had been to a few reviewers, and I'm guessing most of them would not want to take a prototype apart. I felt like I had to, and luckily he didn't care at all. So I took it apart, cleaned it out, everything, got it lined up. There is absolutely no blade play. There is a little bit of rock, but we talked about that earlier. Won't be there on the production run. But with that, it is butter smooth, guys. And that's with a tight pivot. So if you wanted it to completely guillotine shut, you probably could get it there with minimal blade play. But this is perfect to me as is. And I didn't even try like skiffs. It could probably take 5mm skiffs. Obviously, I'm not going to put that in a prototype. But you see right there where I kind of slipped off. If it had that jimping up and around, I think I would have caught that. It's just adding a little extra layer to that front flipper. But again, it's still excellent. Left-handed, disengaging, just slide over. Man, it's just so smooth. It's just buttery, guys. I love it. Access to the lock bar is fantastic. Right-handed, it's just one of those knives that just feels effortless to disengage. Lock bar access is one of those things that's just so overlooked, I feel like, in terms of when we review knives. When they're good, we kind of just don't even talk about it. And when they're bad, we really harp on it. But we should be praising good lock bar access. This is amazing lock bar access. Just so functional and amazing. Like, I just love it. If you guys can't tell, I fucking love the Dawn. Just like everybody else who had one and handled it has said, this thing's a home freaking run, guys. I love it so much. And I want one. So you for goddamn sure are going to be fighting my ass on the day of the drop. All right. I'm going to be first in line, punching people and clamoring to get one. So I think I covered most of it, guys. It's very positive. Oh, yeah, the price. Oh, see, that's what I'm talking about, where I open it and stab myself. I do that. This version right here with hand rubbed and this milling and everything, 280 bones. 280 bones. That is amazing. That price is awesome, guys. And I hope it holds up because, yeah, he's going to start charging more. I'm just saying. There is like a Damasteel version or some shit for like $500 or something. That's, not for me, but I think most of them were right around $280, which is awesome. So on top of all the cool shit, it's also pretty affordable, at least what I would call reasonable for what it is, right? So that is the TW Price Dawn. Thank you so much to Tyler over there for allowing me to check this out. Really appreciate it, dude. You got a killer design, a killer end execution, and you got a bright future, dude. So congratulations. And from one random knife dude to another, I'm proud of you, bro. That's it, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Did you get one? Are you going to be trying to bump me out of the line when they drop? Is it not for you? If it's not, I would love to know why, because you crazy. You freaking crazy. So yeah, that's it, guys. I love you all. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will catch you later.